This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The New Jerusalem by G.K. Chesterton. Preface. This book is only an uncomfortably large notebook, and it has the disadvantages, whether or no it has the advantages, of notes that are taken on the spot. Owing to the unexpected distraction of other duties, the notes were published in a newspaper as they were made on the spot, and are now reproduced in a book as they were published in the newspaper. The only exception refers to the last chapter on Zionism, and even there the book only reverts to the original notebook. A difference of opinion, which divided the writer of the book from the politics of the newspaper, prevented the complete publication of that chapter in that place. I recognize that any expurgated form of it would have falsified the proportions of my attempt to do justice in a very difficult problem. But on rereading even my own attempt in extensio, I am far from satisfied that the proper proportions are kept. I wrote these first impressions in Palestine, where everybody recognizes the Jew as something quite distinct from the Englishman or the European, and where his unpopularity even moved me in the direction of his defence. But I admit it was something of a shock to return to a conventional atmosphere in which that unpopularity is still actually denied or described as mere persecution. It was more of a shock to realize that this most obscurantist of all types of obscurantism is still sometimes regarded as a sort of liberalism. To talk of the Jews always as the oppressed and never as the oppressors is simply absurd. It is as if men pleaded for reasonable help for exiled French aristocrats or ruined Irish landlords, and forgot that the French and Irish peasants had any wrongs at all. Moreover, the Jews in the West do not seem so much concerned to ask, as I have done, however tentatively here, whether a larger and less local colonial development might really transfer the bulk of Israel to a more independent basis, as simply to demand that Jews shall continue to control other nations as well as their own. It might be worthwhile for England to take risks to settle the Jewish problem, but not to take risks merely to unsettle the Arab problem and leave the Jewish problem unsolved. For the rest, there must, under the circumstances, be only too many mistakes. The historical conjectures, for they can be no more, are founded on authorities sufficiently recognized for me to be permitted to trust them, but I had never pretended to the knowledge necessary to check them. I am aware that there are many disputed points, as, for instance, the connection of Gerard, the fiery Templar, with the English town of Bidford. I am also aware that some are sensitive about the spelling of words, and the very proofreaders will sometimes revolt and turn Mahomet into Muhammad. Upon this point, however, I am unrepentant, for I never could see the point of altering a form with historic and even heroic fame in our own language for the sake of reproducing by an arrangement of our letters something that is really written in quite different letters and probably pronounced with quite different accent. In speaking of the great prophet, I am therefore resolved to call him Mahomet, and am prepared, on further provocation, to call him Mahound. G. K. Chesterton. End of preface.